What's going on, everybody? Dr. Jackson back in the house. But this time, for the first time, I had to go calling one of my favorites, call one of my big dogs in, the icon, Long Island's best, rap legend, Pay Solo. What's up, Lo?
What's up, Dr. Ulysses?
I'm chilling, man. I'm glad you get a chance to chop it up with me right now as we discuss hip-hop, mental health, where you at in your life right now, where you going, and we're just going to ask each other some questions, man, and get the people involved, because, you know, I got on my 50th anniversary shirt for hip-hop.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I figured this was the best time to call in somebody that I know. But I'm going to ask you some questions, bro, that some people that may not know you, you know what I'm saying, we're going to get them in tune with. So I'm going to start off like this. Right now, currently, where are you at? What state? What town? If you don't want to name where you at, or you on the East Coast or the West Coast, where you at?
I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast. For a while, kids are graduating. It was those days when I graduated with a master's degree 4 or 5 months ago out in Philly. So yeah, we out on the East Coast. College community, kids are still going to school. We're still garnering our careers and you know, still doing this hip hop thing. We did a show with Eric King last week, hip hop 50th anniversary of hip hop. Flex had the thing in Madison Square Garden and went on. It was a success also. Yeah, it's just, you know, hip hop culture is still, you know, they thought it wasn't going to be here this long, and it's lasted 50 years, you know, and it's still growing. It's still evolving in our face.
Okay. All right. So tell some of the listeners, where you from?
By the way of Jamaica, Queens. I was born in Jamaica, Queens, and by the way of Long Island, I was raised in Long Island, Centralites of Long Island. Shout out to CI. Yeah, grew up out of there. Was rapping probably, I would say, the latter part of my life as a young kid, going back and forth from Jamaica, Queens. I was with a group in Queens called Groove Master 3 that was from Ozone Park. We attended John Adams High School on Rockaway Boulevard. Also went to Jackson for a while because I lived on Liverpool off 109. Also, right around the corner from Inwood, and back and forth with my mother and father. And I'd be in Long Island too. And my DJ in Long Island was John Coleman, and my DJ in Queens was a guy by the name of Pogi. And Pogi had went less, you know, to the essence, you know, got into a real bad drug scenario, and some Russians killed him. But he was one of the best DJs in Queens. He reminded me a lot of 50 Cent. He had that, you know, Pogi, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if they were related. But God bless Pogi, because he didn't make it. He died around the same time. He died dealing with some Russians. I just, you know, wasn't around when he got. I was actually becoming K Solo when Pogi got killed. John Coleman's still alive. He's in Atlanta. I go to see John Coleman periodically. Him and Crystal Coleman, childhood friends. Yeah, man, I try to stay in touch with all the people that I grew up with, you know, because they.
When you finally landed your deal, right? And the name of your first album, what was the name of the first album, and how old were you?
I got on when I was like 24, and it was called Tell the World My Name. And it was signed to Atlantic Records. And yeah, we got signed to Atlantic Records, and DOC was there, Kwame was there. We were filling the void. MC Light was there. You know, we had a nice run with Atlantic for a while, but it was stagnated because people, like when we were signed to the guys that we were signed to, they didn't really know a lot. They were just, we were winging it. You know how kids wing it. We were winging it. You know, we were winging it, and we were getting there winging it. You know, till, you know, the inevitable happens. You know, people start growing up, and they start asking questions, start things don't look right, things ain't right, and we disbanded in I think it was 82. The whole crew disbanded in 82.
So the first song was it Let It Man or Spellbound?
Spellbound was the first song with Spellbound.
Now watch this. When you wrote Spellbound, and now you go on, because I've been hearing a lot of artists talk about this, and you go to sign the deal, did they want you publish it? And if they did, what did you feel about that? You done sat there and put all these words together, and then you sign a deal. Did somebody want you published?
No, at that point we were pretty good in that area. We held on to that, and then we just split. We did a split with EMI for bigger money. Like we leased it out to EMI for bigger money. So we were pretty savvy with that. Our problem was the inside fighting. Notice in the Black culture, there's two kinds of cultures in Black America. In my upbringing, like there's a West Indian. My mother's from West Indies, so and a lot of people that don't understand that, I'll explain it. In West Indian culture, slavery ended in 1804. African down South American culture ended in 1865. So I'm ahead in a lot of ways. So yes, there's a gap between that, like 3 difference. Sometimes we're way ahead of our counterparts, and sometimes our counterparts don't understand, and they move a little slower than we move. I always knew Redman was my brainchild. I always knew I kept Redman. I blocked for Redman all the time because I knew Redman was, I just heard his, when I heard him, I just knew he was gifted. And I didn't want Redman to get caught up with EPMD's politics. So I protected Redman steadily from Parrish. Because Parrish had an ideology that was a little different from Eric's. Parrish ideology was the eagle flies alone and the cheese stands alone. I mean, I seen him actually fighting with the idea of not going through what his father was suggesting he go through with. Like, in other words, do everything on your own, give them their money, but you save your money on your own, and you have a vision for you, don't share the vision. Where my West Indian culture is different. I have a vision for Redman, and they didn't have a vision for each other. And, you know, and when you look at what I'm saying, I'm not, you know, pointing fingers. I'm just saying that look at the ideology of how they think. Had he would have just had a vision for his partner, the demise of this group would have never happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and then Eric being a producer, and if he would have just managed his production, maybe they would have made a better union with each other. Right. But one child was told something else by the older generation. Oh, don't worry about them. Just give him his money. You do you. You didn't have a vision, and then when he did bad, you did bad too, because now you don't have the vehicle anymore.
But I will chime in and say this, and we kind of talked about this before. With the 50th year hip hop, right? I haven't seen EPMD, H Solo, Redman, Das Effect take the stage. And behind the politics with that, what you know what I'm saying? Kind of briefly say, why didn't that happen? Because I also heard you talk sometimes how crews stick together, like Wu-Tang, they still together. If you could briefly touch on why didn't the world get that?
Because culture is what EPMD from down south. They're not Caribbean, and that's what I'm talking about. So you don't have that. You never see Parrish at Eric's house, or you never see Eric at Parrish's house, even though they're chummy on making their money now as shows. But you'll never see Eric at Parrish's house having, you know, dinner with the kids, because something back there happened so toxic that they can't entertain that. They can entertain going to do a show, and then after the show's over, go to separate ways. And that's what I'm saying about culture. Our culture, Black culture, especially in America, it needs to be, you know, the game that we're playing is like it's a sad game, because for one thing, we're playing a role for the people, and then inside the house, it's something totally different. So that's why it's not like Wu-Tang. And then in Wu-Tang's situation, which is good about RZA was a family. He treated all of them like family, and they all have that. You know, Capadon, Method Man, Ghostface, Ray. Even though Ghostface and Ray are off to they come as a collective, and they stand by RZA. If you really look at the other crews that were in the same area of us, nobody can stand by Parrish. They don't stand by him because he didn't do the right things by the team as being the leader. He didn't do the right things. He was really about his agenda. And now when people get older and they see it, they're not going to throw mud at you for it, but they're not going to stand by you.
Okay, I got that. But I want to move forward as we sing. I saw you on stage with Flow Rider.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. Yeah, me and Flow Rider's tight. Shout out to Strong. Well, Flow Rider too. Like when I was with him, me and Flow Rider was a label, partners. We all lived together in Sherman Oaks some years back. He was struggling artist. Me, Flavor Flav, Flow Rider, and Jodeci, we were all in the same area for about 2-3 years. And I seen Flo not only sleep on floors, and he had an army cot, and he got on the army cot. It was like, he treated that like a king size bed. His struggle was very, it was hard. But he stuck to his guns. And one opportunity, like Redman, you get that one opportunity. And I remember Redman came to me one day and he was like, yo, I'm around this guy and, he's taking my cadence, and he kind of panicked. And I said, Redman, put the R's and the P's together and just create a whole style in that, and you'll be looked at for something that you did, like I did Spellbound. It was my idea for him to say, conceptually wise. I didn't write the rhyme, but I did give him the idea to say, write all the P's and R's and write a rhyme. And he wrote Redman Ready to Rock Rough Rhyme. That's why I say he's my brainchild, because I had the idea for him and I was like, come up with this idea, use this idea. And when he wrote it, I was like, whoa. Similar to me living with Dr. Dre, I don't want to skip, but living with Dr. Dre, Dre gave me an idea to write the concept of the Conscious record.
Now jumping in, talking about that, Long Island Way of Queens with EPMD.
Yeah, left EPMD, and then with EPMD got all right, so when EPMD started going through this shit, I seen it early and I was like, I knew, because like I said, I was closer to Parrish. So I knew, listening to Parrish when he would tell me, the cheese stands alone. Like he was trying to convince what his father's ideology was I knew it wasn't the right thing to do, but I knew I couldn't tell him anything. That's his dad. He's going to listen to his dad. But I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. So I left and went with Dr. Dre. And I knew the demise of EPMD. I knew the demise of EPMD was coming because he got this old guy telling his son, the cheese stands alone. And, so in other words, Eric and them could join forces, but remember, he's old. It's never going to be even now, because you got this old man. Instead of having a vision for both of them, like I would have did, or my father would have did. My father would have said, it's the kids. It's the kids. In this case, it was like they worried about, Parrish saving his money and toward him with a IRA. And, Parrish would definitely share with us. Burt Padell, not Parrish. And then Burt Padell told me, I had an accountant. We all had an accountant named Burt Padell. And Burt Padell looked at me, and when he saw what I was being done, and Burt Padell said, this kid's not your friend. And I felt it was real special that Burt knew him first, and Burt would say this to me in front of him. He said, he's not your friend. And then he told Parrish, he said, you can't do this to him. Kevin's not going to survive financially. And I knew he was unfazed. He didn't care. So I was like, okay, I get it. I understood. still befriending him, but in business, I knew I had to do something different. I was still Parrish's friend. In other words, I didn't get personal with business and get mad at him because the accountant's telling me this in front of him. I said, okay, I'm still cool with you because I'm cordial, but business-wise, I'm going to make a move with Dr. Dre. And then at one time,
how did that lifeline get thrown to you to know that you was even welcome there, or that they were even interested in you saying, come on over to the West?
So Dr. Dre, I had his number, and I knew Dr. Dre because me and Dr. Dre, when I was working with Atlantic, the first thing I did was with DOC and we did Jack the Rapper. And I knew Dr. Dre because Dr. Dre came to my booth and he asked me, you from New York? And he said, who's Tim Dog? And I didn't know. They were beefing with Tim Dog at the time. But anyway, me and DOC was on the same level, so we had to be together. I was Dr. Dre and the actual NWA before they became NWA, hanging out with them, just walking around. And they were looking for Tim Dog. And that's how I knew Dr. Dre. And for some reason, I don't know, just with him. And when I heard NWA, I knew it was different, but I knew it was going to be stable. I just knew things way ahead of it. And I stayed until then. When Dre blew up, I still knew them. But EPMD was more cooler with Eazy-E because Eazy-E was running shit. I wasn't cool with Eazy-E. I was cool with Dr. Dre because Dre was making the music and Dre was in charge of that. So I knew Dre for that. And then when Dre had his own situation, I told him that it wasn't working out. If I could come there, and Dre said, yeah. So Dre signed me and I went out there and I cut ties with EPMD. And Burt Podell furthered it, in other words, telling Dre what my situation was. And I remember when I told Dr. Dre how Parrish was doing the deal, he was on the floor laughing. He knew that he didn't know what he was doing, and he was on the floor laughing. And Parrish had made a record where he said, I never seen a rapper living comfortably. And Dr. Dre was looking at me saying, how can he say that? He comes from Run DMC and LL Cool J. And that's when I kind of knew Parrish had mental issues. I didn't really want to say it back then, but I knew Parrish had like crazy like mental issues because now you have the pressure of your dad telling you what he thinks. And this is where it went from bad to worse with him and EPMD because Eric was a dope producer who, if Eric would have just had a team behind him, Eric would be in the same place Dr. Dre would be, a little, probably not as big, but not far off. And Eric is nowhere near Dr. Dre. Even today, he's nowhere near a Dr. Dre as far as brand and business and what he has done with his artists. Like Redman doesn't even really work with Def Squad anymore. Like it's not like it's not like, because Redman's making 40 to 50 grand a show. Def Squad is not making nowhere near that. So how do you do a record? You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's all Eric's fault. I think it's because Parrish was leading and misleading. See, when you mislead, I jumped off the boat early because I seen where the car was going. And then Scratch jumped off the boat. He's over there with Wu-Tang now, like Redman. Scratch is making, strides with Wu-Tang. He's on the road right now. EPMD is this band. There's no album coming out. They dropped the album with Nas. They did a song with Nas. No single came out. That's blood in the water for a rapper. That's like, if you don't see a single coming out after you got Eminem on the single and Nas, that's an issue that, it's not going to get resolved no time soon. And I'm not happy.
I'm backing up real quick for the younger generation, because this is 50 years of hip hop. You're from Queens. You moved to Long Island. Where's this boxing coming at? And how old was you with that? Some people don't know about that.
Okay, so my father's mother, Daisy Scott's related to Martin Luther King's first wife. No, his only wife. They're from Alabama. All my grandmother Daisy's descendants grew up with the Mayweathers and been boxing with the Mayweathers before I was born. Like when Mayweather's fathers, all know my uncles, they're all in Flint, Michigan, on my grandfather's mother's side. Boxing comes from my father's father, who's a coal miner in West Virginia. They called him Slim. Anything he touched, he fell. He got a knockout blow. Not that I do. My older brother, who's a heavyweight champion, who was undefeated as a heavyweight, He has a knockout with the left hand, more of the right hand, but my son, Slim Wolf, if he was, I didn't put him in boxing early though, but he can hit. He probably has my grandfather's strength.
You boxing a rec on Long Island? Do you Golden Glove?
Yeah, I went. Okay, so when I started, I didn't know that I had I just had the feeling to be. I just liked the box. When I saw Ali, my father would always bring home the magazines when I was very young, and I identified with Ali real young, and I would train myself till I got in front of Tony Fortunato, who wound up being my godfather when I came about 9 to 10. Tony had the centralized rec. We went to the centralized rec, and then I started boxing there. One of my friends, Stephen Bryson, like my brother, Stephen Bryson, heavyset black dude. You know, Stephen was real big and cock diesel. They put me in the ring with him, and he hit me with a left hook, and I fell. And I remember I got right up. And the trainer said, yo, he got heart, bring him back. And I was trained ever since that with the great Ralph Mann and Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt was trained by Al Serta, but in that days, Buddy McGirt was him, Mousy, and Kenny Woods was training. I don't know who Buddy was trained to by then, but I remember going to the Brentwood Rec watching them real young. And then I just always was in boxing. And then my father told me later on who my grandmother's or her uncles were, and then what they did with the Mayweathers. Okay. We were in Long Island, never really went down south to meet our cousins and stuff, but we were fighters too. But me and my brother were the prestige. We were the Madison name of the fights in the family. We were the Fighting Madisons. Like, we carried that name in New York, you know. And there was only 3 boxes in our ring, in our region. That was that experience. Really 4. Howard Davis Jr., Buddy McGirt, Kevin Madison, and Ralph Mann. And then Darryl Madison. And Darryl having more belts than all of them. My brother, the heavyweight, had more belts than all of us. You know what I'm saying? Buddy McGirt had all the world titles. And Darryl had every amateur title that Muhammad Ali had. And Darryl had every title that Muhammad Ali had except for the WBC and the WBA. So okay. we're really prone with that shit, boxing shit. It's in our blood. It's in our blood. It's like a second nature with us.
So now, again, we're at the point where they call us old heads now. So when I look back, and I remember when I got named the groups, but when they first came out and they were doing the mumble rap versus how the old school felt versus everything now versus the mergers. And we would be considered old school, old heads. Like I said, my history, I came in the game through doing marketing, promotion, and stuff. But you came in as an artist, you know. And when you look back at your colleagues, and also now the younger generation, you know, what do you think that they're doing with it that you guys didn't do? And what advice could you give even some of them or younger people coming to the game now and some pitfalls that you experienced? You know, the old version.
Well, hip hop is evolving now. It's not about it's about streaming now. It's a streaming game now, which it's like it's not really too lucrative. It's like 380 spins is $1. It's like crazy right now. There's no okay, so shout out to Curtis Blow. I want to say this too before I get into that, cancer. We're trying to create with Scotty Esdale and Curtis Blow. We're trying to create where we have benefits now, where we can have a union. Curtis Blow had a heart transplant. He wouldn't have been able to afford that without a union stepping in. So rappers like Drake, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, all of them, they should all get involved because this helps shape our universe for all the money we have contributed in this thing called hip hop. Things that we all put into this thing to make it as global and as big as it is, a viable source of income for all kind of, first I want to say Black culture pushes every other culture through the roof. Without Black culture, the world would be, I feel, in trouble because we buy the Chinese food, we buy the Italian food, we buy everything. Chinese nails, fake nails, we push everybody's, not only of our own, we push everybody else's through the roof. And I think, what the young generation should do is keep building out to make it a better place for the next generation, like we did for the next generation that came after us. The next generation.
It's ironic you say that, because me coming from the educational side, from promotions, was I looked at, some company that started after, such as your Starbucks and your Amazons. They don't got 50 years like hip hop does, and they're all unionized and they're together. So that's very interesting that you're saying that, because the rappers and the DJs from before, we had nothing but a legacy, from Crazy Legs to all of them, going back, Cold Crush Brothers. You had to run around and break your neck for the next Cold Crush tape. And then we look at where are they now and what benefit do they get. And even a person from that generation, I'm like, wow, what do we have to hold on to? So you mentioning that, with Curtis Blow, man, I commend you for that. And I hope some people jump along with that, because that was definitely one of my questions, healthcare, 401k. So now I'll go to this, like, when I look at this, and even when I was bringing you on the platform, I looked at the mental state of hip hop, which means everybody could go to mental health right now. Everybody could,
right.
Whether you could pay your rent, anxiety, depression, looking for a job, all of that ties into one's mental health. A lot of people's perception of mental health was schizophrenic, bipolar, in and out of mental. No, it's the stress of the world. It's PTSD. It's trauma from, abuse as a kid. And that abuse could be this. Your kid is going to school every day, dipped out. He got the newest George and that thing on, but his lunchbox is empty, and he ain't see mom for 2 days. He the flyest kid in school, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, and we have to address these issues, because when you find your son or daughter and a guidance counselor's office at 9 years old telling what's going home back at home, it becomes a problem.
That's a problem.
I also came up in an area where it was what you hear here, what you see here, you leave it here, and you don't take that out the house. Years later, a lot of us are going through the trauma. So the question is, do you believe, or do you see the connection between hip hop and life in general and mental health, and the need to have somebody to talk to?
I think there's a real need for it, because, like you said, all of those issues that you brought up, I see them every day in hip hop. I see them every day. Shout out to Sean Price's wife. She came to the hip hop show. Sean Price was like my cousin. I remember we at my Uncle Dave's house in Brooklyn. Shout out to my Uncle Dave Conyers. My Uncle Dave Conyers owned the family house, was 7 Arlington Place, where Spike Lee filmed Brooklyn. It's my mother's side of the family, and Mom Pauline's side of the family. Okay, so we're there, and Sean Price is there as a kid, and his grandmother died, and he has a gun. He's ready to hurt himself, and I took the gun from him. My Uncle Dave was the root to DR Period, Sean Price, all of the young rappers that were coming out before they got their foot in the door with their own equipment. My Uncle Dave, was partners with DR Period. My Uncle Dave was also partners with Papa Wu and Sonny Carson at Restoration. My Uncle Dave was a pillar in Brooklyn, as my Aunt Pauline was in Fort Greene. They were the people that, when people got in trouble, they would run to them for help. And they knew, they were just solid people. So I say that to say, like, what you do as far as mental health and wellness, you're one of those pillars too now, on a professional level with a PhD, right? You don't see it's not common. My uncle and my aunt, they were doing it without a PhD, just out of the kindness of their heart and wisdom, right? You, me, and more professional know basically how to, and I was taking the gun out of the young Sean Price's hand, whose dead name was Ruck. He was with Helter Skelter. Around the corner from Biggie Smalls, you could walk from where Biggie was doing the battle to my Uncle Dave's house, right? So, you got to create these kind of avenues for the people that don't know, because our culture is not informative in sense of not knowing, like, where this goes. I know a whole bunch of guys in the last crew we left that had anxiety, and they don't know how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? You got all these guys that have these issues, mental issues, and you don't want to say, oh, you don't want to laugh because our community was in our community being the ignorant side of it, the southern side laughs at that and pokes fun at it instead of saying it'll help them. I come from the side of my mother and them. Like I said, they were Caribbean, so they didn't have the opportunity. My father was from the South, my mother's from the Caribbean, but my mother basically was we followed more of my mother's side because they were boots on the ground early, with us. So mental health, a kid going through the stuff, and like I said, health issues, people with diabetes. Another thing, you got a whole bunch of people in the community with diabetes, and you can cure diabetes. I got an uncle in my family he's a phycologist who grows this red algae. And I came to Bismarck, God bless him, he died. And I said, Biz, his birthday's April 13th. I said, hey, this stuff works. I said, I love you, man. Why would I lie? He's no longer with us. Rodney Salas grew up with Biz. He had diabetes too also. And I said, Rodney, try it. What do you have to lose? And Rodney, not being a rapper, great job. Rodney bought the bottle. He tried it. And guess what? He doesn't have diabetes too anymore. Right. So the thing what I'm learning about our culture is this. We don't know the things that we want to know or we're going to know by the time we leave here. But you got to leave room in your brain to say, maybe our culture got a lot of shit wrong, and hope that we can actually figure things out or even take a shot. Sometimes, like, I wouldn't have knew if I could really be a fighter unless I got in the ring with Ricky Wormley and Ralph Mann and really tried. I wouldn't have knew where I stood with them. We wouldn't have known if Darryl was 2 years old and I put the gloves on him and said, hey, man, you're going to be the champion. And he was. Like, we wouldn't know if we didn't put the gloves on him. So what I mean is you got to take a shot at things. Like, everybody was like a death row. Oh, don't go to death row. Oh, Suge Knight. I went anyway. Yeah, because everybody was scared. Everybody was like, oh, man, I went in there, man. I mean, it was a little spicy, but it wasn't nothing I wasn't used to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I got in there and I seen Dre work, and I got a chance to see Doc. Let me say this to you. I got a chance to see Dr. Dre do Snoop Dogg. Now, I never was able to share that with anybody because, our culture is a little off. So when they see that, they don't think like, wait a minute, this guy saw. He knows how. They don't think like that. You know what I mean? They just don't. And no matter how, the bad thing about the hit squad situation is you're running into people that never had money. So you're going to make millions of mistakes now because now you have this money and you actually think you're Jesus Christ now because you get money.
So which brings me to this, right? And now you in the CI area, I'm in the Deer Park area, I'm growing up. All of a sudden I hear Bismarcky make the music. I hear EPMD, I hear Rakim, I hear Spellbound Letterman, I hear Keith Murray, the most beautiful thing in the world. For me, as a young black man, in the 80s coming up, and I'm hearing this, y'all was my stars.
No doubt.
Yes, that's a Sonic and all that, and Brooklyn and all that stuff. Yeah, Kane and them, but I'm like, this is where I'm from.
This is where I'm from, right?
I'm a root for the home team. But
of course,
as I sat, and it's So For Real came out later on. As I sat and I thought about it, I said to myself, I love this. How do I get involved? But when I see people with, you know what I'm saying, the guy architect on the beat machine and he trying to produce, and I'm sitting there saying, that's not my lane. I can't sing. That's not my lane. So I'm saying to myself all that time, how can I get in? And I'm going to fast forward it because, this is hip hop 50th year anniversary. I wound up going to Def Jam with a friend of mine. And at the time, the National was Rob Love. And he wound up, giving me some tickets to a show and giving me a shirt. And the shirt was the first fighting shirt from EA Sports.
EA Sports.
The shirt. And I wore it a couple of times and I was like, wow. And then he was like, if you ever want to do some marketing, I got this Def Jam Street team. I didn't know what that was about. Eventually, Theo Brown wound up, being in that position. And
shout out to Theo. Shout out to Theo Brown. Word.
Definitely, because he definitely to the Jeezy project. It was like, I was basically what I was starting off with saying is, I'm trying to find my way in. Y'all laid the way. And I'm a person that stays in my lane. I couldn't write a Spellbound or Letterman. That just wasn't in me to do that. So I was trying to find out, how do I get in? So also, when we talk about the mental state of hip hop right now, you can get in. There's so many executives. There's so many directors. Shout out to Craig. There's so many people that behind the scenes doing production. There's so many other things that you could do that everybody don't have to be the rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like right now, you're at a point, whether you rap or not, you got the bully junkies thing going on. You're helping your son. You still got a relationship with Redman. And that's what I want some of these young kids to know. They'll hear a story where, I want to be a rapper, but I gave it all up. Don't give up your day job. And it's a way to find your way into this game. You just got to be patient and be vigilant. We all ain't going to be a Jay.
Right.
We all ain't going to be Nas. But
shout out to Jay-Z. Yeah, shout out to Jay-Z and Jay-Z too. He's another one. Shout out to 50. A lot of these people came in here and really took that and ran with it. And like I want to shout out to Eric Mims at Mims Motors. Like, he's doing the electric car company. That's a hip hop brand. I'm going to shout out to Tony Bell. He's doing the laptops, the phones, technology company. He's a guru. A lot of these guys are coming together. Shout out to my man Takeem, doing movies. He's got a great Hey DJ show coming out. There's a strike going on right now in our industry, the writer's strike, but Netflix is still buying things up. I'm gonna shout out to Clarence Avon, who just passed, the Black Godfather of the music industry. One of my mentors was Norman Whitfield. He passed too of diabetes. I wish my uncle had that. I could have saved Norman with it. Norman is the one that taught me how to facilitate a record label the correct way because Norman is different. Not that I would use all of his ways, but Norman definitely played a part in my ideology. But you're 100% right, man. It's like we could get in here and do all kind of stuff because hip hop is a community. And, I noticed that even at personnel jobs, that the guy that takes the garbage out is just as important as the CEO. And if the company is a successful company, that's how they treat them. So everybody has a part to play, you know what I mean? In hip hop.
What makes that ironic is when Theo Brown had hired me to help him out with the Jeezy project. I'm out there and I'm saying in my heart, and he don't even really know what it meant to me. I got flyers and I'm handing them out. Yeah,
I seen you in Boston. I go out there and there's, I think, 50 Cent on the stage with Funkmaster Flex, and we ride out and you had it so popping. I was like, but you're one of those guys too that's what I mean about a person that wants something. All they got to do is give you a foot in, and you took it and ran with it, and it became like, I see all your plaques on the wall, you got a lot of props on your plaque game. Your plaque game is up to par. You got Jeezy, you got Jodeci, you got a lot of you did a lot of work, and this is what I'm saying about our culture. A lot of people in hip hop in your area probably don't even know that. You know what I'm saying? Because we're taught to not really look at each other like that. This is why it's really going to be powerful, because what's happening in the Black culture, what I see, that everything they said about Black culture is not true. How they say, oh, the rap's going to be a fade. It's not. You guys don't stick together. It's not true. You just seen to happen at the River Bro. Guy jumped in the water swimming to help no, I'm just saying. But what they say about you, they say it because they wanted if it goes in your subconscious and your subconscious grabs it, then it becomes a reality. But Black culture loves Black culture, and Black people are getting it together. It took a minute of all the things you had going against you, but we're actually coming to the forefront of human civilization as the running force of it. You know, the dominant force of it. We dominate everything we're involved in. Hip hop, music, and culture run the planet. Thanks to.
I'm gonna chime in on like how we talked about how you saw me in Boston, how I saw the trajectory. Remember, I saw Biz, EPMD, Rock. You know what I'm saying? I saw y'all, and I'm saying, how do I love this. How do I get in it? And it started, like I said, when I saw Rob Love at Def Jam doing the marketing. Then Theo did the marketing. Then Yvette the Valley, she was doing the marketing. Then my last stop over 7 years was Sean Peckeyes when he was running the marketing up there also. And
Sean Peck, yup. Shout out.
Yeah, shout him out. And what happened was, I'm coming from Long Island doing street team work, hanging up poster boards and everything. But what they did was they made us part of it. And when they made us part of it, it was almost like that engine running or that car going. It needs 4 tires. If y'all don't go out there and get the streets blazing and let these artists know they're coming out, that's what that is. And I was like, wow. Like, I really, really felt a part of it. Like when Jay came out, right? Shout out to Peck. I ain't gonna keep shouting him out. But when Jay came out and he was doing the thing in Harlem for the movie, you know, we had a bunch of poster boys that we were hanging up. And Sean Peckeyes had went in and he told Jay, I got a national street team that's putting all this work out, sign these posters. And I remember him going into the office with posters about this high and putting them down in front of Jay with a list. And this is back then. And this happened to be, this is on my wall. This is one of the snapshots of one of that he had signed for me. And it was just like, it was crazy because he had actually got him to do that. And that, you don't understand the gap now that's put on the street team's back. When we see that, we're a part of something. And, you know, Bad Boy had their street team, 50 Cent had their team. And I took that as a job. Even as I say in my skits or my little weekly Mental Health Mondays, don't do something you don't love. When the passion is there, my passion got me from doing the marketing to keeping my relationship with you to doing mental health. Because when I look back now, I look at like, I'm not going to name the artist, but like somebody that had a platinum record that's not on tour right now. What's he feeding his family? He can't tap into a 401k. He don't get that other hit song in him that Babyface may have wrote for him. What you want to do for the next record? How do we reach back and help each other? We know the ones who's billionaires because they stay in the TV and stay in the news. How do we help him? You know what I'm saying? I would have never knew. I had to hear Cold Crush. You know what I'm saying? I had to hear that. The Force MDs coming out of Staten Island. I had to hear that. You know what I'm saying? To be like, wow, and I'm trying to figure out how can I be a part of it? I'm hearing Jack the Rapper. Shout out to
well, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. But it started with Malibu, right?
Yeah.
So, and then like with us, it started with Borsalino. Borsalino brought the Timbs in. We didn't see nobody wearing Timbs till we seen Borsalino wearing Timbs.
Right.
Like the guys in Long Island, I don't, you know, as far as I remember, because I was going back and forth to Queens, to Long Island. I've never saw nobody in Queens wear Timberlands till after Borsalino was wearing Timberland boots in 77 and 78.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like, to my recollection of what me knowing, I didn't see nobody wear that till I saw them. Because my cousin was a Borsalino. Ralph Mann was a Borsalino. So I was like, oh shit. And we started wearing Timberlands in the rap game. And then that shit blew up. Because you gotta remember, that's why Wu-Tang is so close with me and Reggie, is that because that Wu-Tang's bloodline is just like the bloodline of Borsalino. Like they came from the same era of Malibu, Borsalino. They came from that same, Wu-Tang is cut from that cloth because you hear the music. Tony Mottola. We was listening to the same fucking music. Right. The 5% Nation and all that, that's when that was popping. And that's where they're from and that's where we're from. That's why the mixture is so pure when it comes to Wu-Tang and us, because we were around the 5% Nation. They were around the 5% Nation. And even look outside of the business, Uncle Dave, Papa Wu, and Sonny Carson. They were all
and right. That's another thing to touch on. when you call me O or whatever, because it came from original. When I was
15, you're original man, of course. Yeah, no.
When I was 15 years old, I got knowledge of self by the God Prince Shabazz, and it just was showing me that like you're more than just the N word, that you're some royalty. But what I loved about it was they gave us the mathematics to study, and
right.
then we changed it from the 5% nation to the nation of gods and earth, and you couldn't go nowhere. You couldn't go to Wyandanch to that hunt. You couldn't go to Amityville on that block and say that you were righteous, so you held that flag unless you knew it. That's also what made it.
Or they beat your ass too.
You get a universal, but that's what made it so easy for me.
Universal.
Yeah. That's what made it easy for me to study to get to this point. Because still in all the love for hip hop, I know so many people in the hip hop game, but it was just what was the connection? And I can't just sit all day and do counseling for the whole world. That's why I try to do my mental health Mondays and my little skits to give people some information, let them know it's okay, man, to talk to a counselor. It's okay to talk to somebody, man. We all been through something, whether it's relationships, whether it's some type of trauma, whether it's financial. It's all right to talk to somebody, and then it's all right to go to that.
But you're right. But you know what I noticed too. You're right. That the next generation, they ain't gonna make it without this next information. The last piece that we got now, listen to me, man. That's why I said the dudes that are still back there, if they don't have this next piece, it's done, nigga. It's a wrap. You're gonna be stuck there. Because like I said, they didn't have the answers. We found them, we found the treasure chest later. They didn't have the answers. They didn't know how we got in this fucked up situation. The subconscious mind is the key to a lot of shit. The subconscious mind moves on its own accord. So without the next piece, they're gonna be still stuck there trying to figure out how they got in it and not know how to get out of it. Because your subconscious mind works on its own. When you're sleeping at night, your subconscious mind, how you think Muhammad Ali thought he was the greatest? Let me just share this with you. My grandmother was a Muslim community. My grandmother was born in that, and my mother's mother. My mother's birth certificate is B-E-Y. On Elijah Muhammad's run as a Muslim, it started with B-E-Y. The Farad Muhammad that Elijah Muhammad depicts in his FOI Islam was a B-E-Y Muslim. All Muslims in America started with Drew Noble Ali's community first. Elijah Muhammad was part of that community first and then branched off and created the FOI, right? Made it a black sect. Then Farrakhan came, and after Malcolm X, they sected off of that. Okay, so to not have the knowledge of that, that's why I say I know where the 5% Nation come from, because Clarence 13X was of that set too in jail, but didn't want to convert to those Islamic ways. He wanted to do his own thing, and he created the 5% Nation. He still hustled. He still sold weed, he still gambled, and he said black man is God, and he had a different message. And they were all trying to, like you said, build, knowledge of self. So if you don't understand that, you know what I'm saying, you got a whole bunch of catching up to do too. Now, a lot of black culture went for, European culture, thinking that when they saw Europeans doing better, that was the thing to get European culture. There's nothing wrong with European, like I said, culture. My great grandfather is Scottish. Married my great grandmother. They had my nana, so I have Scottish blood also. Muhammad Ali's mother was Irish, half. She was Odessa O'Grady. Now a lot of people don't know this. Right. Muhammad Ali was named after an abolitionist named Cassius Marcellus Clay, who was a full Irishman, who freed the slaves in the 1800s in Kentucky, and owned a magazine, a newspaper called The True American. But he also did the Emancipation Proclamation for Abraham Lincoln in 1863, and then in 65 when they freed the slave, they used that, right? So Muhammad Ali not being well read, not, following whatever he was following in this community. And Ali was born in 1942. Ali was born in Kentucky. Nobody told him that he was named after a white abolitionist. So when Elijah Muhammad got to him, he said, "Oh, you lose the name." He said, "Lose the name. It's a slave name." And Ali, trashed the name. Ali adopted the name of Muhammad Ali. Now, if you're a history person, you know that the Arabs had more black slaves than anybody.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying about not knowing what's going on. I don't discredit Muhammad Ali because I'm still a fan, still love him. Ali had one of the most beautiful hearts in the world. But he was wrong in the sense of taking the name Cassius Marcellus Clay off his when Cassius Marcellus Clay freed slaves. And it was a smack in the face to name yourself Muhammad Ali, who had black slaves. So this is what I'm saying, the difference of knowing the history of what happened, so you can put the correct pieces together, so you can actually, figure out which way to move to. You know what I'm trying to tell you? And
yeah, definitely important to know the past as we move to the future. Like right now, I think I heard you mention a couple of times about your son. So that brings you to what you're actually doing now, and your son part of a movement, a label.
Slim Wolf. Yeah.
Bringing the listeners up to speed now. What is K Solo doing right now when it comes to music?
Well, we got Road Warrior Records and we got Spartan Academy. My boy Sidney Poitier's album's out right now. Sinatra's working in the studio right now. And Slim Wolf is almost finished with his album. His first album is going to come out on Universal. Slim Wolf, my son, he's and my godson Chris LaShawn, he's from Chicago. They're nice. They're both of them. We got some shit coming out that's real dope with them. But like I said, I'm only thing with me with helping them is trying to get them to understand this new game and how they can get the most out of it, because it's different from our era. We're still show driven. We're still bringing them on shows so he can, people see him. But their energy, like his DJs, DJ Nasty, they're out there in the Miami area with Khaled.
Right.
Different energy, man. It's like a different energy. They're like in the Blueface, Slim Wolf, Chris LaShawn, who else? These new guys. They're in that era of hip hop, which we would call it trap.
So if somebody wants to get with you, is it easy to get with you, or you hard to find, or you exclusive? What you doing?
No, I'm still exclusive on my social media. Still KSolo_Wolfgang on both platforms. They can reach out to us. But like I said, my whole thing is just trying to navigate this new game. It's a little different than the old game. Because in the old game, you just come up with a single and then you throw your DJ. But now everything is a single game. Everything's single. And young, and Slim got some singles out. You can check them on the internet. He's out there. But also working on we have a lot of other things going. I want to shout out Flo Rida in the Celsius scenario. Flo Rida's doing phenomenal. I want to shout Redman out. He's the initiative for marijuana, the high end. Redman doesn't put any of his name on a bag of weed. Redman is more or less the litigation, but not litigation. Redman is the professional. He's the guy that has campaigns for marijuana on a big level now.
Right.
Shout out to Method Man. He has a DeKalb brand that you can smoke and get, and that's dope. But I'm real impressed with Reggie because Reggie, like I said, doing skydiving, he's out of the box. Flo Rida's doing skydiving too, not at the level of Redman, but not far from Redman. These are my, like I said, man, things are happening real good. I want to shout out to Snoop Dogg. I said Snoop Dogg was so special because Beverly Tate was special. God bless his mother. She went to the Essence, but like I said, beautiful woman. I remember watching Snoop's mother when I was out there with Dr. Dre, and I seen Snoop fight for the court for his life on that murder was a case charge, and I just felt the energy from his mother. I knew he was gonna make it out, but I knew he was gonna make it out because the faith that he had in that church. And Snoop is like, yeah, he gang, but he's not really entertaining that shit. Snoop is a real solid person that hip hop has as an ambassador of the culture. He's leading the way, and he has a lot of help. You know, with Reggie and Meth and Cypress Hills and everybody working together, Ice Cube, everybody working together, making this hip hop thing what it is. I'm happy to be a part of it and add my piece, but happy to be a part of the guys that are really forerunners making that strive for hip hop to be what it is. Shout out to Scotty Esdale, the activist of the year of 2022, God brother, you know, president of the NAACP in Connecticut, making strides. Shout out to Ben Crump. All of these guys are making a strive in Black culture and hip hop together. So they're in hip hop also. Shout out to Cornell West and Brother T. You know, we're making strides on different levels, and one day we'll all be in the same room. Takeem, everybody be in the same room. Eric, Mims, the whole crew, Tony Bell, Dr. Ulysses Jackson, everybody be in the same room pushing the same agenda. Shout out to Ricky Kittles, the genealogist, letting us know where we come from in Africa. He giving us the whole spiel. These are all people connected to me in my universe, and we're just pushing forward to make Black culture and hip hop an American culture, for everybody.
And you were saying the arm, leg, arm makes that supreme head. And I got to shout out that Rodini Almonasi, because he was with me day one, Promo Magazine.
Yeah, Rodini, yeah.
Yeah, my partner Khalid, you know what I'm saying?
Khalid.
Yeah. He been with me. And, you know, and just having a supportive background. And what it is, and I'm going to touch real quick on that social media. We get lost sometime in this. And we'll spend hours and days on this. If it ain't paying,
you can't do that.
Find your lane. Come back to this. You know what I'm saying? Don't lose, you know what I'm saying? Out of the 12 Jews, that food, clothing, shelter, that's the ultimate. At the end, that love, peace, and happiness. You ain't going to be like the next man. You ain't going to be big enough. Sometimes find your piece of the pie. Find your happiness. And never burn bridges, man. Because you never know when you're going to have to go back across there. And I see some people going back and forth with this conflict. I'm not with that. I'm not going to the mall and have to run through the mall with my son because I said something bad. I'm not trying to be Malcolm in the mirror no more with that joint in my hand. It's time to feed the family. And from Puff and Jay, they showing us, Rihanna, you could get in here, Kanye, you could get in here and become a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? And you could write the tickets and everything. So it's here for us. So with this 50 years of hip hop, man, we got to take the moment and make it perfect and not wait for the perfect moment.
Shout out to Kanye. Yep. Shout out to Kanye. And congratulations
for spending this last hour with me, man, and letting me get to know more about you and vice versa. Don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me, follow Solo. He got some things coming up. I do Mental Health Mondays every week. And like I said, Lo, I love you from the heart, man.
I love you like cooked food.
Yeah. We go back like cornrows. So to everybody listening, man, we're going to say peace and we out, man. Thanks for listening. Peace. Good looking, Lo.
How many hours was that?